Hello, I'm Natasha. Welcome to my channel. And today I want to talk about why I will be voting for reform in the upcoming general election in July in the UK. So, just a bit of a background, I have always voted for the Conservative Party. I wouldn't say that I completely align with everything they say, but after the 2003 Iraq War, I felt that I could never vote for the Labour Party again. However, I personally think that the Conservatives have had long enough in power to sort out the economy, immigration, and ensure that Brexit was completed properly. And they have failed to do this. The main issue that I have with the Conservatives is their policy on the following. Firstly, immigration. I think our immigration levels are far too high. Legal was around 700,000 last year and illegal was around 53,000. But I suspect that the illegal numbers do not truly reflect how many people have entered the UK. For instance, the government has no way of counting how many people come across on lorries via the Eurotunnel. I personally find it extremely worrying that we do not know who is in our country, and I believe that this affects the safety of every single individual living in the UK. And yes, my father did come from the Middle East around 40 years ago, but he came at a time when immigration levels were not as high as they are now. I crucially do not believe that the rights of people who want to come to the UK should trump the rights of people already living in the UK. Secondly, I strongly disagree with Conservative policy on taxation. New data has revealed that the UK's current tax level burden is the highest rate on record. Obviously, this affects everyone's money in their pocket at the time that we have a cost of living crisis. The third issue that I disagree with the Conservatives on is the current war in Ukraine. As you can probably guess from my other videos, I strongly oppose the government's support for this war. I do not believe that it is morally right to use taxpayers' money to fund the war. I think that Russia had legitimate concerns before the war started, and these concerns were not appropriately addressed through diplomatic channels. The best situation now would be for there to be a negotiated peace settlement to end the war as quickly as possible. I think it is unbelievable now that we have Lord Cameron leading on foreign policy in the UK, given the absolute catastrophe that he caused in Libya, which led to the current migrant crisis that we are seeing in Europe. So, I would like to discuss why I will be voting in favour of reform. I am glad that Nigel Farage has taken over the leadership of reform. I did vote in favour of Brexit, and I find him someone who is just easier to relate to than Richard Tice. I also do not think that Farage is a warmonger. I did listen to his most recent speech where he stated that he opposed the wars in Iraq and Libya. I think he understands geopolitics and the devastation that these two wars have caused on the world. If he does as he said he would and only engages in war as an absolute last resort, then I think that this would be much better for the UK and indeed the world overall. So I thought I would analyse Reform's 5 key policies which are included on its website. Firstly, they propose that all non essential immigration is frozen to boost wages, protect public services, end the housing crisis, and cut crime. I agree with this wholeheartedly. I don't think that we know who is in our country, and I believe that all immigration should be frozen until we get a handle on the numbers. The numbers to me just don't add up at the moment. We build approximately 250,000 houses a year, but legal migration alone is 750,000. I think that current public services are under greater threat as more people arrive into the country. Uncontrolled migration is a massive threat to the United Kingdom's environment. England is one of the least biodiverse countries in the world, and habitat destruction, i.e., making more housing and getting rid of green fields, for instance, is a big contribution to this. Therefore, I think reform's policy on cutting migration is a key to help the UK's environment. And it surprises me how little attention is paid to this by environmentalists in the country. Reform's second policy is illegal migration. Illegal migrants who come to the UK will be detained and deported. And if needed, migrants in small boats will be picked up and taken back to France. Now, I agree with this policy. I think that by accepting more people through this route, we are encouraging more people to use this route. There should be a clear message that if you want to come to the UK, then you need to comply with the laws in place. Reform's third policy. Imagine no NHS waiting lists. Still free at the point of delivery, healthcare needs reform to improve outcomes and enjoy zero NHS waiting lists. Cut back office waste to spend more money on the front line. Tax breaks for doctors and nurses to tackle the staffing crisis. Now, I think that this is a good policy. Obviously, everyone wants free healthcare. However, I'm not sure how feasible that it will be in the long term. I think that zero waiting lists is a very ambitious target. However, I do think that the NHS is extremely inefficient and could definitely be streamlined. Now, I say this from experience in working in public sector and private sector in London in finance. Reform's fourth policy, imagine good wages for a hard day's work, lift the income tax starting threshold to 20,000 to save the lowest paid £1,500 per year. This takes 7 million of the least well off out of income tax to make work pay and to get people off benefits. Now, I think that this is a great idea. Perhaps it would incentivize more people to work if they had to pay less tax. I don't think that people should be able to live a better life off benefits than working. And we do have a lot of people not working in the UK at the moment. About a quarter of people of working age, which is nearly 11 million people, do not currently have jobs. So, any policy to address this, I think, is a good idea. Reform's fifth policy, imagine affordable, stable energy bills, scrap energy levies and net zero to slash energy bills, and save each household £500 per year. Unlock Britain's vast oil and gas reserves to beat the cost of living crisis and unleash real economic growth. Now, I think that this is a great idea. We urgently need to reduce energy bills and make our economy more competitive. We need to ensure that we are self sufficient in energy and food. This, I think, is essential for our national sovereignty and security. And of course, there are other really important issues that we do need to consider. That is how we can sustainably grow the economy and create more jobs. This, for me, can only be through focusing on UK manufacturing. We need to reduce government debt, and I think that we really need to create better infrastructure in the UK to support the economy. So, overall, I think that reform is the only viable option for the UK, and I dearly hope that they do achieve electoral success in the elections next week. Obviously, the voting system makes it hard for them to win, but I do worry that if Labour win the election, the damage that Labour will cause to the UK over the next couple of years will be irreversible.